Hi, I'm Tom Laux, Communications Director for the City of Marshfield. Thank you for joining me on Council Preview. And we're back earlier because our council meeting is going to take place on December 17th. That is going to be the last council meeting of 2019 as the holidays quickly approach. And as always, I have our City Administrator, Steve Barg, here.
Do you remember, Tom, when 2020 seemed a long ways away? Like, oh, we'll deal with it in a few years, maybe in 2020, and now 2020 is right on our doorstep.
Yeah, it feels a little odd, 2020.
It does sound strange.
But
yep. Good to be here this morning.
You bet. Well, let's get right in to a few of the topics. It's not a large agenda at this point, but there are some very good points that we need to address. Again, these meetings, like you said, have not taken place as we're talking about it now, unless you're watching this a little bit on Monday and Tuesday just before the council. But let's talk about consent agenda that has to be to do with the Board of Public Works that takes place on Monday, December 16th.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, because of the fourth Tuesday being Christmas Eve, the council meeting's been moved up a week, and that means it crunches up with all the committee meetings. So yeah, we're not sure what the outcome of these will be, but we'll touch on these items. The Board of Public Works is meeting, as you said, on Monday, December 16th, and one of the items they'll talk about is looking forward to getting proposals for a city garage space needs study. We've done this with other buildings before. We did this recently with the police department, where you have a consultant look at it and say, okay, what do we have now? What's being used? How is it being used? Is growth expected? Is there a need for more office space, a need for more storage space? Kind of, what do you see in the next 3, 5, 10, 20 years? How long will this facility do for us? Do renovations need to be made in the future? Kind of a long-term planning, like you might do in your own home, I guess, to see whether or not it's going to meet your needs for years to come. So we look forward to, in 2020, having a consultant do that for us, and this is the first step.
All right, well, our city garage houses all our plow material and graders, you name it.
And a lot of other materials and supplies for them to do their work. And it's a large building. Some people say, well, where is the city garage? You know, they don't think about it, but it's on the north end of downtown. As you come in off Veterans Parkway, you can see it on your right if you come down from Spencer area. And it is a large area. They've got a lot of indoor storage, but they've also got a yard that also has, like you said, snow plows and other equipment. And it's been quite a while, I think, Tom, since anybody has studied, is the building in good shape, first of all? How is it in condition? But then secondly, is it well suited to meet the needs of the current street operations? And if not, what can we do to improve it over the years?
All right, well, we'll see what happens with that decision after the Public Works Board meeting on that Monday. Let's go into Finance, Budget, Personnel Committee. You have a few things that are going to take place at that meeting, and then on our council meeting the next evening. Job Center operation, let's go with that one.
Yeah, the city is looking at agreeing for another year to work with various parties on the operation of the Marshfield Job Center. You might recall earlier this year, a couple months ago, there was talk in the budget process about whether or not to continue funding for the Job Center. Questions about whether or not this is how job seekers and employers get together the best. And the council did ultimately determine it's a good use of the monies. It does allow people to update their resume, to find jobs online, to talk with a staff person who can assist them in career counseling type of stuff to a degree. So what we have in front of us here, and you have a copy as well, it's a three-party agreement. We've been doing this for a few years now, Tom. The three parties are the City of Marshfield, North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board out of the Wausau area, and then the state of Wisconsin. And the way it works is the city provides about 75% of the funding, roughly $12,500, for a part-time staff person, and she's there 3 days a week, and she's there to help people who come in to look for jobs and try to, like I said, update their resume, access the computer system. The North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development, they pay the other 25%, about $4,500. And then the state of Wisconsin does a lot of good things for us. They provide technical assistance with computers, phone systems, to make sure that the operation functions. So what we want to do is say, are we in for another year? Are we doing this for another year? This will be our third year now over at the new community center location, I believe. And it's been a good site for the job center. It's a good place for people to go and to get this service in an environment that really, it's better space than it was back in the old days when it either was in this building or in the United Way building. So we're excited to help out Job Center for another year, but we need an agreement between the three parties.
Now, this is something that we have to do every year, is that correct?
It's an annual memorandum
Okay.
of understanding and an agreement, because it's been tweaked a little bit over time. At one point, the United Way had more involvement in it. Now they're not really part of it. And sometimes the dollar amounts or the wording has changed because we come across some new things. But it's been a fairly standard agreement that we re-up on an annual basis.
Okay, so they receive their money in three ways. Us, the state, you said?
The state and North Central Wisconsin
Okay.
Workforce Development Board. That's a group out of the Wausau area that is trying to help people find employment, help employers find people. They're into workforce issues. Again, the state doesn't provide dollars, but they provide a lot of technical assistance
Okay.
that saves dollars.
But we end up getting a lot of it back, I see, in rent anyway.
We do. They rent the space out for about
Yeah.
$7,500 a year,
Yeah.
and so it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
If you've never been to the community center, I think you and I have talked about this recently. There's a lot of things there. There's the Marshfield History Museum, great senior operations if you want to visit. There's now congregate dining. There's the Community Foundation has its office over there, Job Center. So a lot of good community uses over at the Second Street Community Center.
You bet. It's more than a senior center. It
Oh, much
is
more.
a community center.
more.
There's a lot of stuff going on there, and even I know there's church programs, I believe, on Sundays.
Yeah,
I noticed.
there's rooms that you
Yep.
can
Rent.
reserve and rent. I mean, there was one I think over the weekend for somebody who had kind of a celebration of having a new adopted child into their family, and they had some people come together. So there's ways you can rent those rooms for purposes, and contact the city if you have questions.
Yeah, or Parks and Rec will be the people that rent
will.
those out. So that's right in that building.
They will
Well,
be.
let's keep going down the consent agenda for the finance. There's two more things we want to talk about. Acting street superintendent position there.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. We've had turnover, and people either find other jobs or they retire. But Dean Schiller, who's been our street superintendent the last 2 years, is resigning and moving on. And we need to find somebody to do the superintendent job in his place until a permanent replacement is found. So this means, Tom, that not only will we appoint someone, but they'll get a bump in pay for that period of time. And there's no recommended name at this point yet. We're still going through the process. But we do wish Dean well. Dean was only here for 2 years, but he did a lot of good things for the city in terms of efficiencies and equipment, snow plowing, those types of things, and he will be missed.
Yes, so we'll find out maybe that person or how that's going to happen on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Probably more how it's going to happen, I think. at
Yeah,
this
and
point.
don't expect to see a permanent replacement named until probably February as we work through deciding who that's going to be. It may be an internal candidate. It could be somebody from external. Dean Schiller was hired a couple years ago from outside the city, so it may be a candidate from inside or outside city operations.
Yeah, and that's a really important position. Street superintendent means it oversees all of the street departments, which could be all the summer projects to plowing, you name it. There's a lot of people over there that coordinate that to happen. So
It's one of our larger departments, and there's a lot of people and a lot of equipment. One of the things Dean has spent a lot of time doing, which I think will help his successor, is going through some of the equipment needs and trying to get a better plan in place for replacement of outdated equipment, and trying to find equipment that'll serve dual purposes in some cases. So it's not just for plowing, it can also be used for another purpose, and that will help, like I said, the department in the future.
yeah, most definitely saves our taxpayers some money as well.
It does.
Let's move right on into, did I miss one here?
Oh, just-
I did. I missed insurance renewals right at
Yeah.
the top.
Yeah, we had a presentation recently, 2 weeks ago at Finance, Budget, and Personnel about some of the insurance renewals, but it was just for the council or for the committee to hear. Now we're going to go to the committee and the council to get approval. The good news I want people to know about, Tom, is that our insurance rates are actually coming down. The big one being workers' comp. We've tried really hard to promote workplace safety. The fewer injuries we have on the job, not only is it better for our employees, but it's better for our insurance rates. And we've had better years lately, so our rating has gone down. It's a better rating, and gone down is good. And that means we're going to save money on workers' comp insurance. Again, another benefit to the citizens. They may not realize it, but ultimately that means in the future years, if that continues, it'll help us in terms of holding the line on the budget.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a good thing for our employees. Nobody wants to get hurt, or
No.
and it's good for both of us.
We have
so.
made a commitment to workplace safety in a greater extent lately, Tom, and we're trying to make sure that we are having processes and equipment that keep people from harm.
Yeah, great. All right, well, there's one more topic we want to talk about. We're done with the consent agenda. Let's move right into the CIP. And again, this is going to be our second year in this process. Am I right?
It is.
And I guess the first year, I believe, went better than expected, probably, right?
Yeah.
You were very happy with it. So talk a little bit about what item L on our agenda is.
Did you notice the length of the pause between the budget and CIP? It's about, Tom, it's about this. The budget was approved on November 26th, and now we're talking about the 5-year capital plan. But it's a plan we update every year. We've doing it differently now. It's more staff-driven than in the past. But what the council is going to be asked to do on Tuesday night is, okay, now that you've said the strategic plan looks good, you think we're pursuing the right things. Okay, so look, before we start at staff level, look at the things on for 2021, and you'll see a number of projects that we're going to be starting, and some of them are parks, streets, various things, equipment purchases. Do you think we're on the right track? Before we start trying to work out how to make all this happen, do you still feel committed to these? Do you think there's something that needs to be bumped up? Now, I've only given you the 2021 list. They'll also get the list for 2022, 2023. They might say, you know what, Steve, Dan, that project you've got slated for 2022, you're looking at doing park identification signs. We'd like to see that moved up to 2021. Can you reshuffle the deck? So this is their chance to look at that 2021 list and say, still looks relevant, still looks meaningful and appropriate. Get to work on making this come together for the updated plan.
So if we step back a little bit, I'm just kind of curious. This has always really been happening. It's just it was done by more council direction.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Well, yes, it was done. There used to be a committee called the CIP committee, and it was made up of 4 council members, the mayor, a plan commission person, and also a regular citizen at large. But then those meetings, it kind of got awkward scheduling them, and the process got a little bit longer. We thought, why don't we have staff really bring it together under council direction, bring the council our plan, have a work session with the council, and see if they like where we're going. And that seemed to work really well last year, and that's no disrespect to the committee, but it seemed to be maybe more efficient.
Yeah, and it gets staff involved, which is really good for our staff.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and I don't want to say hopefully, but they know best.
They do.
They're the ones that work with this stuff and should be able to then present it to the council, yourself, to you a lot easier than trying to guess. So kudos to Dan, right, for doing some of this?
Dan did a wonderful job. He went to a conference a couple of years back and said, hey, he came back to me and said, Steve, I think there's a better way of doing this. And I think, and he's done a great job. Dan is an outstanding employee. But I think the thing here is, even with streets, the committee might say, well, I think you ought to do street X. Well, our staff has looked at it, and they know from a technical rating standpoint which are the worst. And so they could come back and say, well, I think you might want to do street Y first because it's got a lot more problems. So you're right, staff truthfully does know best in some of these areas, but the council makes the call on the use of resources. So we want them to look at these and say, do these still look like the best projects for 2021?
All right. Well, our audience might be a little bit asking what those are, and once the council agrees, and although this will probably be available for public to see, but once it's finalized, we'll make sure that it's available for people to see what projects are coming up.
True. And for right now, for the meeting coming up, this list will be in the agenda packet, and the current CIP is on the website. So if you go onto the website and you click onto the finance department, you can see the current capital improvement plan that's from 20 to 24. We're just updating it.
Yeah, and it goes all the way from parks, everything that people use. So a very important part for even people to bring up their concerns during a council comment.
Yep.
Look at this stuff and say, yeah, well, maybe we should do this. Just ideas are good. So
yeah, and just one more time to say to people, the budget is a fixed document. It's a specific document that says you're going to spend $3,000 on supplies. You're going to spend $2,000. The 5-year capital plan is more of a blueprint of where we want to go. Now, if we wake up next year and things have changed, we'll reshuffle the deck. It's not like it's in stone, but it's the blueprint that we operate from.
Yep, I think that works best. Well, that is all that's going to be, I believe, on this agenda that we want to talk about. There's a few other things, but we'll let that be. And I want you just to mention on the meetings that are going to take place next week, the 17th. And I believe Public Works is still going to be on a Monday. Is that right, on the 16th?
Public Works will be on Monday, the 16th at 5:30. And then it's kind of a buffet on Tuesday. You know, I think I said that last time, and it's, you know, get your food out to watch it if you're going to tune on the TV. But they'll all be on TV, I believe. 5 o'clock will be Judiciary and Licensing. They deal with licensing issues. 5:30 will be the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee. 6 o'clock will be the Plan Commission meeting, and they've got some items. And then the council will be at 7, an hour later. And as you, I think, said a minute ago, it's kind of a lighter agenda because we just met last week. But as a night, it will be relatively full because we won't be meeting again. There won't be any meetings of these types until the first week in January.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll wrap up with our council preview, and we'll continue with our next part for our viewers. We got a little bit of a treat here to talk about our progress in 2019, which is still going on for a few more weeks. But we have some time in this program that I thought, and Steve as well, to bring you up to speed on our accomplishments. So I'll have you start a little bit about that, and then we can go into each section as time permits.
Yeah, you know, as individuals and families, sometimes we like to reflect on the year going out, you know, at this time of year, and look ahead to the next year. And maybe in January, Tom, we can spend a couple minutes at one of our council previews talking about some of the challenges that we face going into 2020. But it's good to reflect on the good things that have happened. And sometimes we get caught up saying, oh, bad things happen. You know, we had this year, had a couple of closings, Office Max closed and those types of things, Shopco closed. So, but what are the good things? And I'll just start out with one, and that's you and David. I mean, things were still kind of up in the air then the last year. We've got the two of you on board. Things are really humming along with the cable TV, but in communications more broadly, with website, social media, and other things, we're making strong progress. And I give both of you, you and David, tremendous credit for that.
Well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Let's move in then to our city forester. That's a new position, right?
It is. It is. In the past, we've kind of cobbled together who's going to handle some of the issues with tree. We've had the emerald ash borer issue. We've got tree development in parks and some other things. But now we've actually got somebody on board, and he's doing a really good job. His job is forestry citywide, whether it's downtown trees, you know, on the street to make it decorative, parks, whether it's diseased trees. We've got somebody who's really in charge now, and that's a really good thing. Mark's doing well.
Yeah, and that's a hard position because you can spend a lot of money and all of a sudden your tree doesn't make it.
Yep.
And these guys, he went to school for it, understands it. It's a very important position, and
it is.
Glad to see the city invest in that into that position.
Very much so. Yep.
Clinic contracts. That was recently. Should I say approved?
Yep, we just signed another 2 years contracts with the clinic. What they do, Tom, is they sometimes have patients from outside of the area, and they need to be transported to where they can get service. You know, and it might not be our clinic or our hospital. So they might need to even go to Madison or somewhere like that. So for the last couple of years, we've been doing something whereby, as kind of a test, where we can take those people with our Marshfield Fire and Rescue and get them transported. They've got the medical service en route in case they have emergency needs. But we needed a longer term contract, so we've at least signed on for 2 years now, and that's good for them and for us. They pay us well for that. We've actually hired 3 new firefighter paramedics to help address some of the needs, and it's good for the clinic too. These are critical need patients that need to get to facilities that maybe offer more at a given moment than we have here.
Yeah, and again, that's I believe it's not really taxpayer money on that. Is that correct?
No, correct. That's all paid for. Good point. That's all paid for from the ambulance and other fees. In this case, it's the clinic giving us money to do that. There's no tax levy fees involved in that at all.
Alrighty, and but I guess, you know, it's nice to have those individuals there and for other means as well, because they have the experience in helping save a life.
Yeah, this enabled us to be able to have these people come on board, these 3 new people, to do regular ambulance calls and to be, you know, involved in fire. So it's a real win-win, truly.
Well, City Hall Plaza, that was been on the docket since you've been here, I think, or maybe a little after, of selling that the building, and now it is no longer a part of the city. Yeah,
I remember when we bought the Ford Financial Building and then turned it into City Hall. It's like, yay, yay! But just like when you're going to buy a house and wait a minute, we got to sell our house, honey. Can we find a buyer?
Yeah.
So we were very blessed. We found David and Christy Steinley, and they are doing a good job here of running this building. But May was the time we closed and sold this building and moved across the street. So again, I hate to keep using the phrase win-win, but it gave us a smaller space that's more conducive to our operation, and it allowed somebody who maybe is more in the business of managing retail and commercial type facilities to take over the old City Hall Plaza.
Well, I bet if our finance director goes through it down the road, you'll see saving money, especially in utilities and heat. You know, the building was more than we needed. Again, we rented it, but I think efficiency-wise, night and day.
You know, and you're in the building, you spend a lot of time there too. I mean, right close to you, you can talk to the public works director, and then the finance director, whatever, instead of going to the 6th floor. Or now I got to go to the 5th floor. Oh, now I got to go to the 2nd floor. That really did hinder our efficiency, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me, that's silos, and I think it's a great plan, and I think our public benefits from it as well with our customer service.
Absolutely.
So they don't have to go up, down, or walk in here and where do I go? Pretty easy to understand now in our front area.
You walk in, there's that kind of half circle, and I want a dog license, I go here. I want to register to vote, I go here. I want to pay my taxes, I'll go here. It feels a lot more like one-stop shopping.
Yep. Well, police department, a site evaluation, I know we did that, I believe, right?
Yeah, and there was a big thing earlier in the year. We've agreed that when we want to expand, it's going to be on the current site where the current station is. And the talk is we look at renovation and remodeling and expanding. So we can remodel the existing space, which is kind of a maze. A lot of people watching us right now have probably never been in the police building, but it's kind of a rat maze, a lot of cubby holes. So renovate that and then expand perhaps to the south. And one of the reasons that was deemed preferable is because buying a new property and building an entirely new building, as you can imagine, is pretty expensive. So we're not going to do it anytime in the immediate future, Tom, but the plan is when we're ready to do it, it will be on the current site.
All right. Radios, communication devices for both fire and police. They received all their most of their stuff, and I believe also towers. Is that right?
The simulcast towers. And this was identified a couple of years ago as officers are in buildings like Walmart and Menards and the high school. They're trying to communicate on their portable radios. They can't get out. Think about the emergencies that come up. With health issues, with the active shooter type of thing that could happen. And now between the replacing portable radios and getting the towers, we've made a huge dent in that problem, and we really don't have that many gaps in our communication system now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have a new engine as well as a new ambulance too.
We do, and those are big improvements for us. We make them last as long as we can, but when you replace one of your major fire engines or a major ambulance, it's good for the public.
Yeah, and that ambulance is state of the art.
Yeah.
Had a chance to go in it, not as a patient. Don't want to be there.
No. You saw it otherwise.
Care will be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great piece of equipment to help our firefighters and our crew be able to do their job correctly. Let's move right into refinancing city debt. That's a big deal.
It is, and you know, people, and this is another one I hope connects with people at home. You know, sometimes you refinance your mortgage because the rates are going down. Well, Ron Ullman, our finance director, who's done a wonderful job in working with our new financial advisor, Ehlers, said, look, hey, there's some old debt from like 2010, 2009 that you're still paying a pretty high percentage on. If you rolled all that together and packaged it and then refinanced it, you could save a lot of interest cost. And we did that. And again, does the public see that? No. But it all helps. It all helps in terms of the budget and the ultimate tax levy.
Yeah, and most definitely. And Ehlers is, what's their official title for us?
Financial advisor.
Okay.
And they work almost exclusively with municipalities. They do government work.
And at times you're invited to council meetings throughout the year, is that right? To give us a little update?
Yeah, Dave Ferris and Phil Costin will come from time to time. They helped us a lot through the TIF transfer issue that we struggled with earlier this year. So they're very strong.
Yes. Snow and ice, as we know, there's a lot out there now.
Yeah. Dean Schiller did work a lot on updating our snow and ice operations manual. And again, you know, right now as we tape this, there's some icy streets. And I would implore the public to give patience. We had some bad weather. We had some freezing drizzle and some pretty wet snow that got packed down. You know, they're going to continue to work on these at the first opportunity and make them better. They're committed to safe driving. But they came up with some good policies in terms of what streets get plowed when and how the thing should work best. And again, I give Dean and his crew credit for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of great accomplishments here.
Yeah, I just feel to touch on just a couple.
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to go through them, and we can go on more, and we're probably getting closer to out of time. Haven't gotten a signal yet, but wastewater. Yeah, I'm getting it now. Well, wastewater, Sam has done a great job over there, and you guys have a really exceptional plant over there.
Yeah.
And it is running like very efficient.
The rate increase for next year, 0. I don't know how many cities can say that. I'm guessing very few, and that's because of the efficiencies that they've reaped from good operations. So the increase in your sewer rates for next year is zip.
And I've been over there time to time, and wow, they are busy because of this area of the farming. They're in and out putting stuff in, and like, wow. I said, yeah, you guys do need this. This is, but it's a way to keep the rates low, and a lot of people use it. All the farmers, or even the rural. The septic places bring all their stuff to them. So, well, a few more things. I'm just going to PCA is really a big employer here. Dental Crafters, Innovative Machine. Those are big deals.
Josh Miller talked the other night about how we do development agreements, and we've assisted. We've provided financial assistance to these companies, but what we get in terms of tax base, jobs, good paying jobs, is just incredible, and those are 3 examples.
And I don't want to forget about the pool. We're right now in the midst of fundraising and the planning.
Yeah, we're and the goal is to begin construction hopefully at the end of August, after the season ends in 2020, with completion and ready for the 2021 season. So still a lot of fundraising going on, a lot more to do, a lot of plans coming together, but that aquatic center will be a project that's been desired for a long time. It'll be exciting to see it happen.
And then I'll finish up with one last thing. We always know it's really important for housing. That's how gets people to move here, increases business. That's something that Josh Miller and his department are really working on, a housing plan and an update on that.
Yeah, and Dan Kinect has been involved in too, because one of the things we're trying to do, so we found out where the gaps are, and one of the things we like to look at, Tom, is what types of housing we're not getting, what price ranges, is it more multifamily, more owner-occupied? So we've updated that. We've got better information. In the last couple of years, we've worked to help some apartment development, but it looks like we've got caught up to the number of apartments we really should have for our community. So now it's a little bit more toward the single-family and two-family homes. But the other thing is this housing incentive program that says, look, we will try and help new streets get put in. Developers sometimes say, gosh, I got a great plan, but I don't have the money to put the street in and all that stuff. Well, we've got at least a little pool of money going, and Prairie Run is going to be our first project in 2020. We might talk about that more in 2020 look-aheads, but to get some more housing developed. So people, like you said, companies, where are my employees going to live? Do they have options if we move here? This is helping to provide that.
All right. Well, there's a few more, but we're out of time, and I want to thank you, Steve, for bringing all this information. Again, all our city staff was a part of this, which was really good to get everyone involved that wanted to come to a meeting back in November. And now we're bringing it out to the public, which is a great way to keep our transparency out to the public and our employees.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. It's not that we're trying to toot our horn, but sometimes we get complaints and concerns, and we deal with them. We're trying to help citizens out, but sometimes people forget the good things. And it's nice to say, look, here's a lot of things that happened during 2019 that are positive for our community. Now we'll look ahead to 2020 and say, okay, what are the remaining challenges that we need to tackle?
All right, Steve. 2020 is coming down the road. We'll return in 2020 with council preview, which is a little bit a ways away, maybe a few weeks, 3 weeks out. 3 weeks out. And I guess in the meantime, I'm looking for you guys. Any ideas that you might want us to do in 2020 that's different, to bring information to you about council meetings or other meetings that take place? Again, those meetings are always mentioned or gone through, I should say, through the consent agenda. So let us know what we can do to help better get that information out to you for council items. And you can always call me at 715-486-2070. If you don't want to call me, call Steve. Your number again, if you want to just say that, please.
You bet. It's 486-2003, and you can find my email address as well online. I'd love to hear from people with questions, concerns, ideas, whatever.
Yeah, same here. All right, well, thanks again, Steve, and we'll see you next year on our council preview. It's 2019 now. And again, remember, council meeting takes place on December 17th, an hour later at 7 p.m.
And maybe I could end, and we could both end, Tom, by wishing everybody a happy holiday season. It's a great time to enjoy family and friends, and we hope you have a great one.
All righty. Well, again, I will wish them as well on this program, and I'm sure you'll see me again on some other programs like Spotlight and our Connections programs. Thanks again for joining me and Steve on our council preview.